Getting off first. Oh, whew, shit. This is a hard one because I just, I don't understand, man. When did snitching become acceptable? Never in the history of humanity. I mean, we can go all the way back to the beginning of time because, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you and I'm going to keep it real. Snitching's been around forever. Forever. We can even parallel to the Bible. I mean, what did Judas do? Judas snitched on Jesus, right? And on some accounts, he committed suicide because he felt such shame and guilt. But there are some other stories out there that talk about how the apostles went and brought it to that motherfucker and beat his ass into the fucking ground and killed him. You got other famous notorious snitches throughout the times. How about Benedict Arnold? Snitched on George Washington and the gang. Now, if George Washington and the boys would have caught Benedict Arnold, they'd have strung him up by his ball sack. Snitch been around forever, man. You got some notable mobster snitchers like Valachi or Jimmy the Weasel or Henry Hill. It's been around a long time. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that it hasn't and there wasn't no snitching going on in my day. There's always been snitching. Or else there never would have been the label snitches get stitches. There's always that weak motherfucker, right? That just didn't learn that if you're going to play in this game, you're going to live this life, you need to suffer the consequences at some point in time. And you might as well hold your mud because it's not about bringing everybody else down because you fucked up. It's about holding yourself accountable and being responsible for your own actions. But that shit's all changed because in this modern day generation and the generation to come, snitching is trendy. I just seen that on Vlad TV, right? This D.L. Hewley was talking about how snitches get residuals and snitches get cut a deal with the prosecutor. It was in reference to Tekashi Snitch-Nine, you guys' idol, and the one that you love so much, and he's the snitch of all snitches. I mean, I know this is kind of an old story, but he is the snowflake of this show because he's just such a weenie, and I can't understand what you guys think is so fascinated about him. How you think that all the snitching is cool, and he honestly believes that he's still a G, that he's going to get out and his career is just going to take off, and it probably will. I mean, that's where you're at. You guys, you love that shit. Getting off first. Hey man, if I'm gonna get off first, then I'm doing something right, and that's what gets me brownie points in my set. And even Tekashi 6ix9ine set, I don't know what is it called, like 9 Trot some shit. They're a bunch of fucking weenies too, cause they're all telling. And they're all still homies. That kind of shit never flies in my world. And you got, like I said, you got these D.L. Hewleys that are quoting like Freeway Rick talking about, yeah, I'm not mad at the guy snitched on me. He did what he had to do. And, you know, it's par for the course. I understood what I was getting into, that there's snitches in the dope game. Yeah, there's snitches in the dope game. But that doesn't mean you have to accept it. It's really a complex issue. And the reason why I'm bringing it to your attention is I'm paralleling it to your potential prison visit or your inevitable prison visit, because that's where you're going to go. You're living in this life, you're going to go to prison. We live in a day and age where there's cameras everywhere, on every light post, side of every building, on every phone, even in space, man. They could read what you're reading on a newspaper from outer space. They could see it. You're going to get busted. You're going to get caught. You're going to be up in there. And this snitch culture that you have ain't going to fly. So let's rewind a little bit and discuss why it's not going to fly. So in the 80s and 90s, they started this tough on crime mentality in the government, in politics. That scumbag piece of shit who you all wanted to see become president, Hillary Rotten Clinton and her malcontent husband, decided they were going to be tough on crime and label everybody a super predator. So what they did is they lumped everybody under one umbrella. So you took the street gangster, the street hustler, the dope dealers, the stick-up guys, jump out boys, and you lumped them in the same group with chomos, tree-jumping rapists, cannibals, necrophiliacs, serial killers, and all the rest of the weirdos. They didn't differentiate between the two. They just put them all under one umbrella. And we all got the same kind of sentences because of these dirt bags like Richard Allen Davis and the likes. So they got tough on crime. And a lot of gunners got locked up in the 90s for stretches. Now they've been in there so long, like myself, that they stayed fit. They're still on point, and they will tune your ass up. Don't think you're going to go in there and see a bunch of broken up, burned out old men, and you could just run your political correctness and your entitlements and do whatever you want going up in the California prison system, because it's not going to happen. That shit ain't going to fly. And if you're going in there with the snitch culture, well, I only told on my crimey. I only told on my boys, so I should be all right on the yard. Well, you see, it don't work that way either. They're going to check your paperwork, especially in my car. They're going to check your paperwork. It's going to show that you cooperated, that you scratched their back and gave them a little bit of information. They're going to look at it and nod. They're going to be like, all right, you cool, man. Everything's all good. Welcome to the pad. I'm going to take you outside and introduce you to some of the fellas. Now, you don't even know what's coming because you're the last one to know if you're going to get hit. So you going out to the yard, think you're going to get introduced to all the fellas. You're going to get introduced to some hard candy. You're going to get stabbed up. Now, that's what your snitch culture is going to get you. That's what your entitlements, your political correctness is going to get you. That's where it's going to lead you in there. Because it's just what it is, man. In the California system and in the federal prison system even. And the federal prison system, and I hate to burst your little bubble and basically kill your fantasy on how you think your state is at the top of the food chain. But let me tell you this. California politics sets the pace for the entire country on the feds. Wherever California cars are, they set the pace for that whole yard. Because they're going to go harder than the paint every single time. And it's so organized by the prison politics that's been ingrained and embedded into them that they're going to put in the most work. It's just the way it is. All these prison gangs that are big coast to coast started in Cali. Even the Texas Syndicate started in California. So what does that tell you? So if you're going to get busted going into California or any kind of prison where California prison politics is basically taken over and seized control of the mentality there, you're not going in with the snitching culture. Because you're not going to get off easy like Tekashi 6ix9ine. Nah, man. He's going to witness protection program for a lot of reasons. Like I said, there's a whole docket sheet on his ass of all the things he's going to do. As a matter of fact, on the same Vlad TV interview with DJ Hewley I saw, they brought Tekashi's baby mom on there. I think her name is like Sarah Molina or something. And she's sitting there reading everything Tekashi's going to do, like with ease, man. Like it's just another day at the office. This silly, stupid-ass hood rat has no problem with all the snitching and telling everything he's doing. And she's perfectly fine with it, as a lot of you are. I mean, she was going through the list. He's going to be meeting with the ATF. He's going to be meeting with the FBI, the DEA, this, that. This motherfucker snitching is going to go so deep, he's probably going to tell him the truth about Roswell, New Mexico. He's probably going to uncover every dead body buried across this whole country. That's how much snitching he's going to do. But see, for him, he's going to get off, he's going to get out, and he's going to be right back into the mix just like T.I. was. He's going to go to witness protection program. But that ain't going to work for you because you ain't nobody. You ain't nobody special. You may have 10,000 followers on Instagram. That don't mean nothing because the system, unless you got something big to give them, like I said, if you're going to tell them the ancient secrets of Stonehenge, you're not going to get into witness protection program. You may not even hit an S&Y yard. Because when the S&Y yards were formed in California, they were formed as a means of protecting the weaker inmates because the Safer Prisons Act started coming into effect. And the people that couldn't hack the GP yard could go to this S&Y yard and program with ease. Well, so many people started going into this S&Y yard. You got a lot of former shot callers that made a bad call, people that got into debt, people that are just too much of a dump truck to function properly, people that had bad paperwork, that had funny charges, ended up going on those yards. But it got so bad that from what I'm told now is that they have to go through a screening process. and the screening process would determine like what kind of a degree of a yard you'll go to. But from what I hear, it's a very long and painful process. And why put yourself in that situation? Basically, in a nutshell, what I'm telling you is this. Now, I'm not encouraging criminal behavior. Actually, I'm doing just the opposite. I'm basically letting you know like what it is. And hopefully you'll see it and say, damn, man, I don't want no part of that. Because you're going to hit the yard and you're going to have this mentality that everything is just going to be okay for you, but it won't. And you can't just go to an SNY yard anymore. So you'll have some action after you get a couple of holes poked through you. You're laying there in a pool of your own blood fighting for your life. Or you got that puto mark, that zipper snitch mark going across your face that'll follow you forever. Then you'll have some action. But they changed a lot of that for obvious reasons. Because you got a lot of organizations that are still very much a part of what's going on as far as structure and keeping it real. What's to stop them from sending a sleeper into one of these prisons to kill somebody on an SNY yard? Some killer that's got a triple life sentence, that's got nothing to lose but to run to the cops and say, hey, man, I'm in fear for my safety. His whole purpose is to hit an SNY yard to whack somebody big, get some points. It's possible, man. There's a lot to this world that you think it is because you think hip-hop and all these people that are in hip-hop encompasses the whole criminal world. And it don't. It's a very small part of it. Because all these big names in hip-hop, shame on you. You're all a bunch of fucking weenies, man. All of yous out there talking about it's okay to snitch and laughing about it and thinking it's cool. I mean, these were the guys that in my generation, they were silly, they were nobodies. Now they're running the hip-hop world and they're programming you to think that all this silly-ass behavior is okay. It's like the nerds done took over high school all of a sudden. And their programming is creating this culture nowadays. And what's going to happen is the prison system is going to balloon a lot worse than it is now. Now, I'm a prison abolitionist, prison reformer. Said it before. You've heard me say it. But my particular brand of prison reform and prison abolition is not popular to those that are up here on this pedestal, you know, put up there by Van Jones, Oprah Winfrey, and Kim Kardashian and all them. Their ideas, they have no solutions. All they have is just, let's let everybody out of prison. And that's a dangerous idea, man, to just let a whole bunch of people out into the streets that are totally unprepared to be out here. And I'll tell you why, because there's still some tough on crime people in the government. And they're going to wait. They're going to wait until one of them dudes does something real heinous. And they're going to use him as a poster child to set back criminal justice reform probably for a lifetime. Maybe even for a whole century. And with that, the prison system's going to balloon. Because it's still going to balloon anyways. If you let a bunch of people out that ain't prepared, that ain't been schooled on how to cope with all this stress of living in the streets, because you live in a structured world, all your rent's paid, your food's taken care of in there. Now it's all on you. And that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of guys getting out. So here we are, right? We're at this pivotal moment in prison living that the snitch culture is starting to swell up the ranks in these prisons. And there's going to be no room in PC for everybody. So they're going to have to eventually, at some point in time, just completely flip it and put everybody all together. And in some places in California, they're already doing that little thing. So, like in the 60s, they had the prison system as we knew it in California changed. Because you had a lot of social reform and civil rights activities going on in the 60s. People were challenging the racist policies of the United States government. And demanded that they get their rights. And a lot of them fighters and freedom fighters ended up in the prison system. And when they didn't have nobody to really focus all that frustration and energy on, they looked at other ethnicities in the prison population and sought out to victimize them in there and to get revenge, or so to speak. That set the pace for prison gangs to really be formed. And like I said, you had the BGFs, you had the Hand, the Nuestra Familia, and then on the white side, they originally started out as the Bluebirds and became the Aryan Brotherhood. And all these groups formed as a means of seizing control, consolidating power, and protection from other races. So prison politics was born. The convict code had been manifested into something to what we see today. It's dwindling in a lot of places, but it's still there. And there was snitching going on, but a lot of them snitches got murdered. People were getting whacked and killed right and left. Bodies were being stacked up. They used to call a particular spot in Folsom Blood Alley, where all kinds of snitches and jailhouse informants and everything were getting butchered. That's going to come again. It always does. It's like alternating current. It goes down and comes up, goes down and comes up. It's like a golden age, drops into the dark ages, back to the golden age. It's going to get to that point where there's going to be so many of you little snitch culture weenies that are going to be on this yards, and that solid group of people that don't subscribe to that culture is going to form, and it's always a very small number of people, but they're the most deadliest and dangerous ones of all. So it would just behoove of you to not even engage into that. I mean, what do you really get out of it? You're either in or you're out. Now, like I said, I don't encourage criminal behavior. That's not the purpose of all this. The purpose of it is to bring reality of it to you. If you're going to be in, be all in, or don't be in at all. But this snitch culture, man, it's got to change, because it's not even cool, man. It's never been cool to be a snitch, and why it is for yous, I don't understand. But you're so soft and emotional anyways. It like I said, it makes perfect sense in a lot of ways. But what I would suggest would be to get out of that whole game. Like, stop looking at these hip-hop people as your role models, because they're all phonies, man. None of them are real. I don't care what they say, what they do. If you getting on there rapping about all the stuff that you did and everything like that, the real solid gangsters in the day, the hitmen, the hardcore killers, never talked about it. You'll never hear me talk about a lot of different stuff that I did. As much as I would want to entertain you with that, that's really none of your business what kind of work I put in. The people that know, that need to know all about it. And those that I've crossed paths with, that had a chance to see it on the receiving end from me, know it well as well. I don't have to sit here and break it down for you. It's not all about that, because my record speaks for itself. Been all up in the system for years, from the state to the feds and county jails in 3 different states. My goal is to, like I said, throw it in your face and show you, by cutting down your role models and clowning them and putting them on blast, that hopefully maybe one of you will wake up and realize, man, that this is not what it's at. This is not where it's at. I don't want to be like that. Maybe you'll think about this and say, I'm not going to end up in witness protection program, so I better just either get out of the game or stay solid. Because I'm going to tell you to stay solid for an obvious reason. You're killing your mothers. You're killing your fathers. And your children and everybody else that you're disappointing with your decisions. Now, you may not care right now, but you're going to care at some point in time. One day, that shit's just going to fall down on you like a ton of bricks. And don't say I didn't tell you so when it happens. Because it happened to me. I had no idea the pain that I was putting my mother through with the lifestyle that I was living. Both of my parents died with their son still being a failure, locked up in the prison system. They died never knowing their son as a successful person in society. They always knew their son as the convict. And that's the way it is. That's fucked up. But it's something I got to live with. But you don't have to live with that. And all the snitching ain't going to change that either. Because you're still going to be up in there and your life is still going to be at risk. Because you could cross paths. There's a 90% chance that you will cross paths with somebody who's going to kill you. People still get killed in them places all the time. And a lot of time it's the snitches that are getting killed. Because they can't protect all of you. If your culture is saying that this is cool, there's going to be so many of you weaklings in there, so many of you that are going to be primed for the prey by the predators, that you're going to get hurt, man. And the thing of it is like, numbers don't mean shit. Because a lot of these prison gangs have functioned and have survived and have taken over whole prisons with just 5 dudes against thousands, hundreds in some cases, thousands. And they've seized control of these prisons and set the pace for everyone else to live. The example, you're living by this, you're going to pay this, you're going to do this, or you're going to get murked. It's just as simple as that. Don't think that you're going to swell up behind a whole number of weak people and they're going to protect you. Because look at what a snitch is, man. A snitch is somebody that's self-centered, that's looking to get themselves out of trouble at somebody else's expense. Do you honestly believe that those people are going to protect you in there? Miss me with that bullshit. They're not going to protect you. You're not going to protect them. You're basically all on your own. You may think that you're in this group, but somebody that you locked up, or somebody that knows that you're a snitch, or somebody just having a bad day because they got a triple life sentence and you're getting out in a week because you told on somebody, might cut your motherfucking head off and kick that shit down the tier. Woo! I feel like I'm in an alternate universe sometimes with this shit. Because the thinking is like, it kills me, man. And it's not like a culture shock or anything like that, because that's never been my culture. And the kind of person I am, I'm a convict, I'm a survivor. I can adapt to any environment that I'm living in. You drop me in the fucking jungle somewhere, man, I'm gonna make it. But what I'm trying to do is hopefully deter a lot of you from going down this road when you don't have to. Because the culture and this mindset that you got of getting off first, it's an every man for himself. And with that, you ain't got no friends. You ain't got nobody to watch your back. You're going to get fucked up. You're going to get killed, man. Why do all that? Why get into that? Why get into that? Go down that road. Just like look to do something better with your life. Stop looking at these hip hop people like your role models. Like I said, they're not nothing to role model after. Find some positive role model. Find a scientist or something. Somebody that's doing some shit. But lose this mentality, because snitching has never been cool. And any time in the history of mankind has it ever been cool. Don't make it cool and trendy for yourselves. I don't care what your role models are telling you. It ain't cool. It ain't trendy. It ain't none of that stuff. It's weakness, man. And it's all about being a survivor and being strong and standing firm, basically, and seizing control of your destiny by standing on your own 2 feet. And if you're going to live that life, be prepared to either get killed, get robbed, get locked up forever. Because that's what's going to come. If you got that coming to you, be a solid dude and be a man. Now, I know it's not cool to be a man or to be masculine in this day and age, but fuck all that shit. Move away from that flawed thinking as well. Be a man. Be strong. Do your time if you're going to do the crime. Don't make somebody else do your time with you. Fuck that misery loves company shit. Stand strong. Stand proud. Stand for something. And lose this mentality. Start learning some of this guidance, man. Start taking some of this advice that I'm giving you because it's good advice. It's going to carry you far. I'm still alive for a reason. And I'm giving it to you like that. And I'm going to keep being up in your face over it. Till the next time we meet, stay solid or stay weak, whatever you at.